Welcome to Agri-Pulse Newsmakers, where we aim to take you to the heart of ag policy. I'm your host, Lydia Johnson. This year has been full of news critical to farm policy. President Donald Trump was inaugurated in January and quickly followed through on many of his campaign promises. An aggressive trade agenda, a sweeping budget reconciliation, later known as the One Big Beautiful Bill, and a crackdown on illegal immigration. In agriculture, New World screwworm and the bird flu remained animal health threats. The Agriculture Department underwent a massive downsizing, and the administration announced $10 billion in farm aid to compensate growers for commodity and market losses due to the trade war. This week, we'll take a look back at what our guests had to say through many of those critical moments, including what you should be watching for in the year ahead. The 119th Congress began in January. President Trump was inaugurated, and members of the House and Senate were sworn into office, creating a Republican trifecta. Members of the agriculture community celebrated the occasion at the inaugural Agricultural Ball. Days after President Trump's inauguration, Oklahoma Congressman Frank Lucas explained how the Trump administration would be able to hit the ground running.
When the president was first elected in 2016, I think not only the Democrats, but maybe President Trump was a little surprised by winning. And it was a difficult thing to get the administration up and going because usually you spend 6 months or a year planning in advance. But in this administration, he is a cadre of veterans from the previous administration, and he and his people have spent literally 2 years, maybe some would argue 4 years, getting ready for this. So it's dramatically smoother. Think of this as a more mature Trump administration. Now, we've got a very tight margin in the House, just a couple of seat majority Republicans and a couple of seat majority in the Republicans in the United States Senate. So he's moving aggressively with executive orders. He's moving aggressively to do the things he can from within the administration, but we're still going to have to legislate. And that's where a more mature Donald Trump will be very helpful to us.
With a new Congress came new Ag Committee leadership. Pennsylvania Congressman G.T. Thompson continued as the committee's chairman, and Minnesota Congresswoman Angie Craig stepped into the role of ranking member after ousting Congressman David Scott for the position. We connected with the House Ag leaders for a joint interview at the American Farm Bureau Federation Convention in San Antonio, Texas, and asked Ranking Member Craig about her plans for being the top Democrat on the committee.
We've got to show up and listen to people, because when you do that, you focus on their priorities. And what my family farmers have been telling me for a long time is, we're getting stressed here. We're getting squeezed. High input prices and low commodities prices have really been squeezing family farmers. And I think helping all my members to understand the pressures of family farming and how important it is that we allow these new and beginning farmers to get into farming, and we're able to protect the ability to pass down the family farm to the next generation. These are some of the things that I'm going to make sure my members understand fully.
During the conversation, Chairman Thompson expressed the need for passing a farm bill in 2025. And the implications of that not happening.
We need to get the Farm Bill done as soon as possible. The longer we wait into the fall to do that, towards the end of the year, I think only means we're going to have to come back to the table for more economic aid. We can avoid that. Producers don't want it. They prefer not to do it. I don't want to do it. But the way we avoid that is getting the Farm Bill done. Because of the improvements that we've made to the safety net programs, it will just prevent having to do that in the future.
President Donald Trump kicked off his second stint in the White House by following through on campaign promises, threatening, then imposing tariffs on the U.S.'s trading partners, clawing back green energy investments, and cracking down on illegal immigration. Trump also instituted a hiring freeze for federal agencies, and his Office of Personnel Management directed federal agencies to evaluate all employees who are currently in probationary periods and determine whether they should be retained. By February, many employees, including thousands at USDA, were terminated from their roles in what was referred to as the Valentine's Day Massacre.
When we think about the impact that this has on rural America and farmers and ranchers and producers, it feels pretty intense to them. Here's just a couple of examples of what this means. The first thing is that these staff reductions at USDA They seem to be just sort of willy-nilly without any thought or even any real understanding about what these different parts of USDA do. So, for example, you're seeing folks let go, probationary people let go, whose job it is to make sure that farmers and producers can get technical assistance and can get hooked up with federal grants. These are probationary folks because they've been going through like a year or so of training, and just as they're about to be finished with that training, they're now being let go. So that's a massive waste of time and money when you see that happening.
In the months that followed, thousands of other USDA employees would take the deferred resignation program. The department would also announce a broad reorganization plan to move more than 2,000 Washington, D.C.-based USDA employees to regional hubs in 5 cities across the U.S. Also in February, members of President Trump's cabinet, including Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins, Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and Environmental Protection Agency Administrator Lee Zeldin, took their posts at their respective agencies. HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. stuck to the Make America Healthy Again agenda he campaigned on, which concerned ag groups for his stance on crop protection tools. Clinton administration Agriculture Secretary Dan Glickman explained his concerns with the appointment.
I have great concerns about him not feeling science is an important lever in determining what we should eat or not eat, or I think that his science is pseudoscience. But I don't think he likes farm programs either. Everything I've seen indicates that he's not really a fan of them. So he's going to have to be restrained if he gets in that job.
In March, tariffs, the farm economy, and the administration's far-reaching impacts on farm programs remain top of mind for farm leaders attending Commodity Classic in Denver. Ag Secretary Brooke Rollins attended the event and announced additional details for the Emergency Commodity Assistance Program, or ECAP, which began sending out disaster aid payments in late March. Rollins also made time to meet with wheat, sorghum, corn, and soy growers, including National Sorghum Producers Chairwoman Amy France.
And you mentioned trade, and that is top of mind for sorghum. And so we said, hey, this is a problem, and it's China for sorghum, but we have a solution, and that's India. So that's really the partnership I'm hoping to bring forward for her is I'm not bringing you a problem without a solution, Secretary, so help us help you.
We also spoke with Greg Petrus, president at Kuhn North America and ag chair for the Association of Equipment Manufacturers at the event, about the impacts Trump's trade policy could have on the ag machinery sector.
Where the challenge comes in is when tariffs are used not sparingly and not well thought out. They are a tax on manufacturers. There's no doubt about that. And it raises the price of equipment. And of course, that slides down to the producer. And that's the last thing we want to see.
We'll be back with more Newsmakers after the break.
As a cooperative, our customers are our owners. They share our profits and help guide our business. We're not just another lender. We're Farm Credit, and we're here for you.
I think some of sustainability to farmers just comes second nature. If you asked a farmer, are you sustainable? They'd probably look at you maybe a little funny and say, I don't think I'm doing anything that special, but it really is just what they do. We're all farmers, and our goal is taking the best care of our land, our cattle, our natural resources.
This is my sustainability story.
Welcome back. In April, President Trump's campaign promise of holding trading partners accountable through tariffs came to fruition. He imposed sweeping tariffs, including a baseline 10% tariff on all trading partners, during a Liberation Day event at the White House. North Dakota Senator John Hoeven joined the show to explain the impact the president's tariff policy will have on American farmers.
For as long as I can remember, our farmers have always said they want free but fair trade, a level playing field. How many times have you heard that? And really, that's what he's after. He's talking about reciprocity. So that idea of making sure other countries treat our exporters fairly is really the objective here. So obviously, there's some short-term disruption to get there. But how do you affect changes without making change? And anytime you make change, of course, there's going to be adjustments and disruptions.
Amid rising egg prices in February, Ag Secretary Brooke Rollins unveiled a 5-pronged strategy to tackle bird flu. In April, I spoke with her at the White House about the plan.
We rolled out that 5-point plan about maybe 5 or 6 weeks ago, right here at the White House. And in that time, almost immediately, you began to see the wholesale cost of a dozen eggs go down. And it's gone down almost 58, I think 56, 57, 58% per dozen, from $8 and some change down to $3 and some change per dozen. I mean, that's a remarkable, I think, success story. The market reacted to our plan. You will soon see the retail prices across the country adjust. In many places, including my home state of Texas, they adjusted almost immediately.
In May, the long-anticipated Make America Healthy Again draft report was released. The draft criticized many aspects of the American food system, including directly linking crop protection products, glyphosate and atrazine, to poor health outcomes. Mike Johans, George W. Bush administration Ag Secretary, explains his concerns with the report not being developed based on science.
You know, when I read the report and read all of the, or a lot of the articles about the report, all I could think of is they want us to go back to the 1940s or the 1950s. You know, how many studies have been done on various crop protection products that are out there that have come to the same conclusion, that these are safe, that they can be used? I mean, and then you read this report and they put the bullseye on pesticides and whatever else. And to me, it's extremely frustrating. It's like taking scientific development, very, very careful analysis, turning it upside down and relying on speculation and theory. And it's just, you can't feed the world the way they want to feed the world.
In June, budget reconciliation discussion heated up. The House and Senate Agriculture Committees made required spending cuts through state SNAP cost share provisions and increased work requirements. In turn, leadership was able to include a boost to reference prices in the legislation, as well as tax provisions critical to agriculture. Senate Ag Committee Chairman John Bozeman joined the show to explain the boost in reference prices.
The thing that I hear the most from our producers is that they need a better safety net. They need more risk management tools in the sense that with these low commodity prices, very high input costs, it's very, very difficult. They need a hedge. And so we worked hard to help really across the board as far as row crop, dairy, sugar producers, all of these various entities, livestock, the specialty crops, honeybees, you name it, trying to give them a better safety net, which again, I think is the most important thing that we can do for our farm community right now. We'd like to get these things done and then come back later in the year and actually pass the rest of the farm bill.
We'll be back with more Newsmakers after the break.
Trial lawyers are using a discredited report from a World Health Organization subagency to attack a safe, American-made weed-fighting tool. This critical tool helps keep your food costs down, and without it, food inflation could double. Stand with American farmers and keep trial lawyers' greed out of our farms and food supply. Fight back. Call your local representative.
Join us as we celebrate 3 decades of Commodity Classic, agriculture's largest farmer-led event, February 25th through 27th. Experience game-changing solutions. Connect with thousands of forward-thinking farmers and explore innovations from over 400 companies, all focused on powering your farm forward with efficiency and profitability. Housing and registration opens November 6th. Don't miss 30 years of agricultural excellence in the heart of Texas.
Welcome back. In July, USDA announced additional plans for the department's reorganization, including relocating thousands of Washington, D.C.-based staff to 5 regional hubs across the country and closing the Beltsville Ag Research Center in Maryland. We spoke with Congresswoman April McLean Delaney from Maryland about the plan.
I'm always a little bit hesitant about, rash changes and moving a couple thousand people, employees across the country. I kind of like gradual, thoughtful decisions. So I want to make sure that happens. But I guess as a general matter, in terms of all of these agencies that are being rapidly reorganized, sometimes things fall in the mix, and there are certain things that are not getting done at USDA.
Also in July, USDA looked at steps to claw back farmland owned by Chinese-owned companies. President Trump began to ink trade deals with U.S. trading partners, and USDA continued approving state SNAP waivers, restricting purchases of soda, candy, and desserts in some states. August meant recess for Congress, but the administration didn't slow down. Deputy Ag Secretary Stephen Vaden said at the Farm Progress Show in Decatur, Illinois, the USDA was considering bridge payments for farmers impacted by President Trump's trade war. On the sidelines of the farm show, we spoke with American Soybean Association President Caleb Ragland. Although at the time, China had not purchased any U.S. soybeans for the marketing year, he emphasized that farmers were economically hurting, but wanted long-term market correction before bailout trade aid payments.
Right now, we're in a very dire situation. September's upon us, harvest is starting in the deep south, and we have 0 bushels of soybeans on the books to be sold to China for this current crop that's about to come out of the field. Historically, over the last 5 years, about 1/3 of soybean sales to China would be booked. China amounts to 25% of our total U.S. soybean crop. So that would be 8 or 9% of the whole U.S. crop would normally be on the books with China right now, and we have 0. That is alarming. We as American soybean farmers want to make a profit from the market, but we must have a level playing field and have opportunities. Right now, we're at a 20% price disadvantage due to the retaliatory tariffs compared to Brazil. So that's why the Chinese are going that direction. So we need a level playing field, we need opportunity. And when given a fair opportunity, the American farmer is going to win.
In September, the final Make America Healthy Again strategy was released, which avoided the mention of specific pesticides, eased some regulations on farms, and suggested removing restrictions on whole milk sales in schools. Kansas Senator Roger Marshall, who is one of the MAHA movement's closest allies in Congress, joined the show to discuss the report.
I would just point out that over 250 groups, farm groups, ag groups, went to the White House and talked to the MAHA writers of this about what agriculture is doing, what we're doing with regenerative agriculture, how we're growing more with less. We had a big hearing here as well on soil health. Maybe we'll talk about that in a second. So I think that we've effectively communicated to the MAHA group that we are growing more with less, that we're using less chemicals than ever, but we still need those herbicides and pesticides and fertilizers unless you want groceries to go up 10x. So I think Ag did an incredible job of communicating our story to the White House.
At the end of the month, Ag Secretary Brooke Rollins announced that the administration would protect American farmers from high and volatile costs for fertilizer, seed, equipment, and other key inputs, while speaking at the Ag Outlook Forum in Kansas City. We'll be back with more Newsmakers after the break.
I think some of sustainability to farmers just comes second nature. If you asked a farmer, are you sustainable? They'd probably look at you maybe a little funny and say, I don't think I'm doing anything that special, but it really is just what they do. We're all farmers, and our goal is taking the best care of our land, our cattle, our natural resources.
This is my sustainability story.
America never stops. Thanks to the financial support of Farm Credit, neither do the farmers and ranchers who call her home. Since the beginning, we've been helping rural America show the world what hard work can achieve. But the job is far from over. And as rural America grows further, we'll be there.
Welcome back. As the fall went on, China snubbed American soybean growers by purchasing from Brazil instead of the U.S. A government shutdown began in Congress after Hill leaders failed to fund the government for the upcoming year. The shutdown would go on into mid-November and be the longest recorded in history, totaling 43 days. The reopening measure included an extension of the 2018 Farm Bill. Conversations in Congress moved to trade aid to compensate producers for lost markets and low commodity prices. North Dakota Senator John Hoeven, chairman of the Senate Ag Appropriations Subcommittee, explained the discussions about using Section 32 to fund the payments through tariff revenue.
So we've also then, as you said, been looking at Section 32, which essentially is using some of the tariff revenue that's coming in to help our farmers. And as you've seen, The president has referenced that, and it makes a lot of sense because we are bringing in tariff revenues, but the Chinese are retaliating against our farmers. So use some of that for ag assistance just makes sense. And it also sends a very clear message to the Chinese that we're going to keep our farmers in the game, and they better quit using our farmers, as a tool in this negotiation. And I think strengthens President Trump's hand in those negotiations.
The U.S. and China also reached a long-awaited trade agreement, which finally restarted China's purchasing of U.S. soybeans. Congressman Brad Finstad commented on the trade deal the morning of the announcement.
Well, it's an exciting time. I mean, obviously, we in farm country, I'm a farmer myself, we want to farm for markets, not subsidies. And the opportunity for us to see the market move, to see more people buy our products, not less, is always an exciting time.
In November, the Supreme Court heard a landmark case challenging President Donald Trump's use of emergency powers to impose broad tariffs. We spoke with Senate Ag Committee Ranking Member Amy Klobuchar, who attended the oral arguments, about why the case was so important to agriculture.
It was such an interesting argument for law nerds, but also for real life for farmers, because some of the most conservative justices, like Justice Gorsuch, were very good. He said, you know what, this is Congress's power. If you're going to take taxpayer money, I think his words, out of someone's pockets, it's Congress that's supposed to do it. And these tariffs are basically about taxation. And Article 1 of the Constitution says that's Congress's job. The second thing that was going on with both Justice Roberts and Justice Amy Coney Barrett, as well as many other, I'd say Elena Kagan primarily, that they raised was the fact that this statute the president relied on, called IEPA, it sounds happier than it is, that he relied on doesn't even have the word tariff in it. But overall, I felt really good leaving that courtroom. I actually felt good, that there were judges that were listening to this legal case. And I think it'd be very important for rural America if we got a clean start when it comes to our marketplaces, where we're seeing markets drying up, and a negotiation of these tariffs, which doesn't involve this across the board tariff through IEPA.
To wrap up the year in December, I sat down with Deputy Ag Secretary Stephen Vaden for a look ahead at farm aid payments and a look back at USDA's actions during the past year. Vaden previewed the trade aid package, explaining that a wide variety of crops would be covered.
We've set aside all that we can do here within our current authorities without additional help from Congress in order to try to take care of the harms that have built up over the past several years in farm country. We know that we've got Chinese now buying soybeans, but we know that soybean farmers suffered until that deal was worked out. But we also know there are non-trade related harms, at least non-China trade related harms, affecting other commodities like cotton, for example. And we need to take that into account as we think about the numbers that we need to be providing to farm country with the monies we have available.
At the White House roundtable with President Trump unveiling the aid, lawmakers are already beginning conversations that additional funds will be necessary in early 2026 to support farmers until increased reference prices go into effect late next year. Vaden, who's been charged by Ag Secretary Brooke Rollins to lead USDA's reorganization efforts, also confirmed when the USDA reorganization will be complete.
So when you and I talk at the end of next year, what you and I will be talking about, I think, at least in part, is that we'll be in Raleigh, North Carolina, we'll be in Indiana, we'll be in Kansas City, Missouri, Fort Collins, Colorado, and Salt Lake City, Utah. We will have redistributed the majority of our USDA employees to our new hub locations, plus other places where we already have leased office space.
So you'd like them already to be moved to those locations by the end of 2026?
They will be. They will be. As a matter of fact, we're already moving to implement that. And you'll see that in the days and weeks ahead with public announcements.
We'll be back with more Newsmakers right after this.
Trial lawyers are using a discredited report from a World Health Organization subagency to attack a safe, American-made weed-fighting tool. This critical tool helps keep your food costs down. And without it, food inflation could double. Stand with American farmers and keep trial lawyers' greed out of our farms and food supply. Fight back. Call your local representative.
Join us as we celebrate 3 decades of Commodity Classic, agriculture's largest farmer-led event, February 25th through 27th. Experience game-changing solutions. Connect with thousands of forward-thinking farmers and explore innovations from over 400 companies, all focused on powering your farm forward with efficiency and profitability. Housing and registration opens November 6th. Don't miss 30 years of agricultural excellence in the heart of Texas.
Welcome back. This has been an interesting year in farm policy, to say the least, and we want to thank you for joining us not only for this look back at the past, but also for tuning in all year long. Looking ahead, 2026 is certain to have many critical moments of its own, and we're looking forward to continuing to provide you with balanced, trusted coverage on food, farm, and fuel policy in the future. For Agri-Pulse, I'm Lydia Johnson. Thanks for watching.
Newsmakers is a production of Agri-Pulse Communications. You can also find our new content on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to follow Agri-Pulse and our correspondents on social media to get breaking news and more. For agriculture, trade, food, environment, and regulatory news, your source is agripulse.com.